Well, here we are again, off the back of a Boro victory, wondering if this is finally the time they can put some form of a run together. So let's preview what is always a very, very tricky trip to Deepdale. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another episode of the Project Boro Preview Show, the series here on the channel where we, of course, look ahead to every single Boro game in the league and sometimes cup this season, previewing the opposition, looking at their form, their strengths, their weaknesses, and giving our predictions, of course, as to what might happen. And today we are going to be talking about Preston North End, who, for all intents and purposes, are a side who I don't think are quite good enough to be troubling the playoffs this season. They're a very mid-table side. They're also way too good, in my opinion, and have too good of a coach to be in any form of relegation trouble. They are just turning into being a steady mid-table side, which I think's pretty good given how worrying the start to the season was. The chaos with managers coming and going within the first few weeks of the season. I think stability and calm is what they've needed, and this season might very much be a season of just stability and hopefully kicking on, as we've seen what Paul Heckingbottom can do with a good side. And so far, I think it's safe to say they're pretty much in that kind of position right now, and we'll get into them in a moment. But of course, Boro off the back of a good win against West Brom, but that was off the back of one of the worst performances of the season down at Pompey, and Boro's away form has been a little bit erratic of late, when usually we're a better away side under Michael Carrick. But yeah, recently things have gotten a little bit shaky and chaotic on the road, and with our home form not exactly pulling up many trees either, Boro need to just up their game in all departments, and Deepdale is never usually a place we have all that much joy, so a result this weekend for us I think would be a significantly good one if we can pull one out of the bag. But on Preston, they sit currently 16th in the Championship. As I say, mediocre, steady, not really troubling the top or the bottom of the Championship. They are 8 points clear of the bottom three currently, and they're 8 points away from the playoffs. So they are as mid-table as it gets currently, and the numbers kind of back that up. They've won 7 of the 28 games, so a quarter of their games they have won. They've lost 8. So again, compared to a lot of the sides in the bottom half, they've not lost many games at all, but they draw a lot. They've drew 13 times this season. Only West Brom have drawn more games than Preston. They've scored 30, conceded 35, so a pretty level goal difference as well. But in terms of their recent form, they're not doing too badly at the moment, Preston. I think they've had a decent Christmas period. They've won 3 of their last 6 league games. 2 of them were at home, beating Hull and Sheffield Wednesday, and then they got one very impressive away win at the Vic, being one of, I think, only 3 sides this season to win at Vicarage Road this season, which is no mean feat in itself. So they're in decent form, and what I'll say about Preston is they don't lose many games, as I mentioned, with their overall record. A lot of draws in there, and that's sort of backed up by their recent form, because of their last 13 games, they've only lost twice. They have drew 7 of them, but again, they find a way of picking up points more often than not. And what Heckingbottom, I think, has done when he's gone in there, as he's just ensured that when they're maybe not at it, they're away from home, up against the, backs against the wall, they still come away with something. Whereas at Deepdale, they have had a bit more joy this season. But they're a team who ensure that they don't lose many games of football. And as I say, only 2 of their last 13 games have been in defeat. In terms of their home record, again, that backs up a sort of similar story. Once again, they're sort of mid-table-ish for home form, albeit their total points at home is only 4 points behind Boro's. But they've played 14 at home, won 5, so again, they're just under half in terms of the number of games they've won. But as I say, they've only lost twice at home all season, drawing 7. But the only 2 teams who have gone to Deepdale this season and won were Bristol City and Sheffield United. So a lot of very good teams have gone there and failed to beat Preston at Deepdale. So it shows how tough of a task it is to go there and get 3 points. So, with that home record, it means they're currently unbeaten at home in their last 7. But again, they've drawn 5 of them last 7, winning only 2. So, recent home form, overall home form, and just overall form in general probably means there's a big likelihood that this game will finish in a draw of some kind. But anyway, that's their recent form. Delving deeper into their numbers, they've not got the best attack in the Championship, but they are underperforming ever so slightly. They're 19th in the league for goals scored. They've scored 30 goals, just over 1 goal a game, but they're actually 13th for their XG. So they're just inside the bottom half for XG. So again, very, very mid-table, but they are underperforming their XG ever so slightly by around 3 goals. So nothing all that concerning, but nothing all that spectacular about Preston's overall offensive numbers. And that's backed up by some of the other offensive metrics we can look at. Again, very mid-table. They're 17th for shots on target, 13th for big chances, 13th for big chances missed. And a quick note on what they're like in possession again. They're right in the middle of the league in terms of possession, 16th with 47% possession on average, but they're quite low when it comes to general accurate passes. They're 18th for that, but they are top of the Championship for long accurate passes, so they're very accurate when playing the ball long, which tells me this could be a team who are very direct. We know they've got the likes of Emil Rees and Asmajic up front, so what that tells me is they might not be a team who bother playing through the thirds all that much. They might try and get the ball up to their big strikers quite quickly with some very accurate long balls, but what makes them long balls also just as accurate is the likes of Asmajic and Rees are able to bring the ball down, hold it up well, and bring others into play. And we'll get on to their forwards and how important they are a little bit later. So, as I say, offensively, middle of the road. Defensively, though, I'd say a little bit better. They're not too bad at the back. They're joint 10th for goals against, so just inside the top half. They've conceded 35 goals this season, and they're just inside the top half for XG against as well. They're 14th for XG against. Again, they've underperformed that ever so slightly. Their XG against is 33.2. As I mentioned, they've conceded 35. But what also backs up that they've not got a bad defence at all is that they're 7th in the Championship for clean sheets. They've got 10 clean sheets. That's only bettered by West Brom, Blackburn, Sunderland, Sheffield United, Leeds and Burnley. So all the top sides in the league. So they've got a lot of clean sheets, Preston, and they've got one more than what Boro have as well. So yeah, overall, very middle of the road, a slightly underperforming attack, but a decent enough defence. In terms of how they set up and players to look out for, I'm not too sure how they'll set up against Boro, because looking at their recent games, when they went to Watford and won, on FootMob it says they set up in a 3-4-3. Now, I don't know if that's something that they use when they're away from home against teams that they're maybe not expected to beat. I don't quite know. The 3-4-3 is a good formation for a team who want to set up defensively, because the right-sided and left-sided midfielders can then drop back and make the back three into a back five, turning it into a sort of 5-2-3. So that can work on the road. So I don't know if they might look at something like that with Boro coming to town, or like in their last home game, which was a 1-1 draw to Oxford, if they'll adopt a 3-4-1-2, which is what they were playing that day against on FootMob against Oxford. Once again, the 3 at the back is an ever-present, and the 4 in front with the left-sided and right-sided players can again still drop back into a back 5 if need be. So maybe they like to have that adaptability with their formation, that they can drop into a back 5 if need be and maybe move into a back 3 when attacking. But what I saw was really interesting in the last home game is that they had Greenwood in the 10, Emil Rees up front alongside Will Keane, and I think that's something they probably will do at home, because when looking at their most effective players, they often do come from them forward 3 areas, being the 2 strikers and the number 10, because the 3 strikers, or the 3 players who've picked up over half of Preston's goals, are between the front 3. So between them all, you've got Emil Rees, who's their top goal scorer. No surprise there. Boro fans will shudder with fear whenever they hear the name Emil Rees. He is a player who just has a phenomenal record and seems to score whenever he plays against Boro. But he is their top goal scorer this season. He's got 7. His strike partner, Asmajic, has got 6, and Sam Greenwood, another former Boro player who you always have that narrative, don't you, that worry in the back of your head, the former player coming back to haunt your old club. It wouldn't surprise me, it really wouldn't, but Sam Greenwood is their third highest goal scorer with 5. So between Reece, Asmajic and Greenwood, they've got over half of Preston's goals this season, and as I say, that's the 10 and potentially the 2 strikers. So it's clear to me who Boro need to focus on when it comes to Preston's attack. That's backed up by their overall goal contributions. Again, total goals and assists. That's between Reece, Asmajic and Greenwood. Reece has 9, Asmajic has 8, Sam Greenwood has 7. So stop that 3. We have a big chance of stopping Preston from scoring. However, one other player that I thought was quite highly rated on FootMob, he has their overall highest FootMob rating on average, and his top of their assist numbers is Kane Kesler-Hayden, who I believe does play up front. He can play at the left of a 3. He can play on the side of a midfield 4 as well. So he could be someone that they distribute as a left-sided or right-sided midfielder, or maybe a winger in a 3. But either way, he will be looking to terrorise Boro's fullbacks, which is certainly an area of weakness that teams have tried to attack Boro many, many times this season. Had joy with it as well. So they're the players I would sort of look out for. But as I mentioned earlier in the preview, they're very, very good for accurate long passes. So I can just see them playing the ball up quite high, quite direct towards Reece, towards Asmajic. So I think the likes of Rav and Fry in the Boro defence are going to have to try and win as many of their aerial duels as possible. Now, talking of Boro's defenders and the team I would go with this weekend, on paper, this actually looks like a very good 11. And I think Boro are in a position now where they can field near enough their best 11 going forward. Now, I do still feel like Glover will be in goal, just down to Carrick's strange recent comments, and with Dieng out of favour, seemingly, at the moment. But the back 4, and I've gone for it, I've dropped him straight in there, you better believe it. Luke Ayling is going to be on the right. I feel like he is just a more all-rounded right back who I think in games like this I can rely on a little bit more. Fry and Rav seem to be Boro's best defensive centre-back pairing at the moment, and I'm really desperate for Boro to establish a centre-back pairing at this moment in time, because I can't remember the exact numbers, but the different number of back 4 and back 5 combinations that Boro have fielded this season has been ridiculous, and I think the foundation of a really successful, consistent side in this league is having a solid and consistent back 4, and we've not had that at any point really this season. So I would like to maybe see Rav and Fry as our 2 established centre-backs. So they're the 2 I would go for, and yes, I've done it. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. It might be harsh on Borges and or Engel, and of course, he's not played much lately. He's just come in. Yeah, I get it. It probably won't happen, but sod it. I've stuck Ryan Giles in there because I want to see it. So there you go. Ryan Giles, he's going to start in my fantasy world. We've got Hackney and Morris back together, and I can't tell you after the West Brom game how important that will be. Morris transforms the midfield, and I'm delighted he's back in there. And the front 4 continues to just look terrifying, really. You know, Azaz at the 10 does need to pick his form up. Azaz, I will say that. You know, he's been very, very quiet in the last few weeks since he won Championship Player of the Month, so I'd like to see Azaz pick his form back up. Ben Duck will always start. Of course, he, even on his worst days, is still a terror for his full-back. Bergzorg has got the shirt on the left-hand side with McGree being injured again. And Latilath, despite the speculation, continues to start and play pretty well, given the fact his future seemingly is elsewhere. So that's the 11 I would go for, and to be honest with you, that's such a good 11. It's an 11 that should do the job. But before I go on my prediction, I'm sadly going to bring the tone down of this preview by discussing the head-to-head. Oh dear. This is where Boro fans might want to stick their fingers in their ears, because although Boro do edge the head-to-head between Boro and Preston in terms of the last sort of 20 league games, Boro have 7 wins to Preston's 6. There are 7 draws in there, so very evenly matched. Most of Boro's joy has come at the Riverside, because at Deepdale, oh dear, things don't usually go well, because Boro have lost each of their last 4 trips to Preston, and Preston have beat us on an aggregate score of 11-3 in them 4 games. 11-3. That's terrible. I think it's included a 4-1 win. I think their last 2 wins over us have been 2-1. They beat us 3-0. Boro have had a horrific time at Deepdale in recent times, and our only win in recent memory was on New Year's Day, I believe it was, January 2020, and it was a 2-0 away win. That was Boro's only win at Preston in our last 7 visits. So, good grief. I credit all the away fans going there this weekend because it's been a miserable old time of it, and I knew that from a recent trip a season or 2 back when I was there and we lost 2-1, I think. But anyway, finishing off with my prediction then. Now, I'd love to predict a win off the back of Boro beating West Brom and things looking better, but you guys will understand that this Middlesbrough team is a very, very tough one to trust. And so often this season when we've won a game and you're hoping we'll back it up, start a run, we drop points in the following game. It's happened countless times this season. Boro just love win, draw, loss, win, loss, draw, win, loss, draw. It's just been that sort of season, and I'm not going to believe that'll change until I see it with my own eyes. That paired with Preston's very good home record, how very few and far between they lose at home, you know, how few and far between defeats have been for them at Deepdale. I am thinking that a point wouldn't be a bad result for Boro here. I think just coming away with a solid point, a better performance than Pompey wouldn't be the worst result in the world. And with our record, that always makes me a little bit more cautious. So I am going to go with a 2-2 draw. That's what my head is telling me at this moment in time. But that's my preview. That's my predictions. As always, guys, let me know yours in the comment section below if you're watching here on YouTube. And if you are, do hit a like on the video and subscribe. If you want to see more, we do preview and review every single Boro game here on the channel. And you can also, if you'd rather, listen to this over on your chosen podcast provider via links in the description of this video. And if you do, give me a like, a rating and a follow over there if you would be so kind. But until next time, guys, do take care. I'll be back on Sunday or maybe late on Saturday to review whatever happens down at Deepdale. And I'll keep you updated on any transfer incomings and outgoings that happen between now and then as well. But until then, do take care, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.